She heard the blade sigh, and every stalk of wheat bowed like it understood. "Please," the sword whispered from the dirt. "Let me be a plow." Myra's hands shook. She had planted the sword at dawn, where the soil was black and soft from last night's rain. The field belonged to her mother, to her grandmother, to a line of women who grew bread instead of burying sons. But the war passed through last winter and left iron behind. A blade with no owner. A curse everyone feared. A debt Myra could feel like frost in her lungs. "Blades don't talk," she breathed. The wheat rustled. Not from when there was none. It rustled like it was thinking about her. The village swore the wheat listened, kind and considerate, bending away from small feet and draping over tired backs like blankets. Old stories. Myra had smiled at them once. She wasn't smiling now. "Take me," the sword murmured. "Turn me? Into a plow?" "Into an ending." Her father had died walking to market with a sack of seed, cut down by men who laughed. An ending sounded good. But Myra stared at the grip wrapped in dark leather, at the etchings of blue along the fuller, at the flecks of rust like dried blood. "Why me?" "Because you planted me," it said. "Because you spoke the field's name." She had whispered it while pushing the blade down. Breadkeep. The name her grandmother gave the land after the Great Hunger. A vow, a promise. "Don't let us starve. Don't let us fight." "Show me," Myra said, and pulled. The sword slid free with the soft sound of pulled root. It was lighter than it looked. Warm, as if it had lain under the sun, not in the wet earth. She felt a pulse through the hilt, slow and patient, like the heart of the ground. "Grip tighter," it whispered. "Point me low." Myra angled the blade and pressed it into the soil. The wheat leaned aside, making a path. The furrow opened. So easy? Like the land had been waiting to be touched. Dirt curled up in smooth waves, rich and sweet. She could smell life. She could feel something else, two threads tugging at her wrists. Then her elbows, then her chest, as if the field had caught a hold of her and didn't plan to let go. "Good," the sword breathed. "You remember." "I don't," she said, panting. "Remember what?" "That you were born with earth sight. Your mother hid it. She feared what the plow does." Myra kept walking, kept cutting the ground. The furrow curved, then straightened. It felt like writing with a long, heavy pen. Birds lined the fence posts, silent. Far off, the mill wheel turned without wind. "What does the plow do?" she asked. "It breaks kingdoms." Myra stumbled. The blade had not grown heavier, but her heartbeat had. "I thought you wanted peace," she said. "I do," the sword replied. "But peace is not a silence kept by fear. Peace grows where roots breathe." The wheat nodded around her. "Turn me again." She did, because the sword's warmth had become a comfort, and because the field pressed against her calves like a friend. As she cut, memory came, the way her grandmother hummed seedlings, the way her mother salted the threshold and told Myra never to carve the ground in arcs, never to speak to iron, never to answer if the wheat answered first. She had already broken all three rules. At the edge of the second furrow, a shape rose from the dirt, a small one. Myra flinched back, blade lifted. It wasn't a man. It was a tangle of roots shaped like hands, then a face, then a little body made of braided stems. It stood in her furrow and blinked with seed eyes. "Hello," it said. The voice was a dry rattle, but gentle. "We were waiting." Myra's throat went tight. "We?" All across the field, the wheat made a soft ah, 1,000 tiny breaths. Root children rose, one by one, like sprouts becoming people. They were not frightening. They wore crowns of grain. They smelled like fresh bread. Tears stung Myra's eyes. She had been alone a long time. Maybe she hadn't known how bad. "Keep your line," the sword said. "Do not stop." "What are they?" Myra whispered. "Memory," said the blade. "The land's memory of the ones it loved." Her father had said the field remembered those who planted, those who bled, those who sang. Myra had thought it poetry. She set her jaw and pulled the sword again. The furrow widened. and more root people rose like notes in a song. Then the twist came. Halfway down the third row, iron chimed under the soil. Not the sword? Something else. Myra pushed deeper. The ground shook. A long shape rolled up, spitting dirt. Another blade. Then a spear. Then a helm with a broken crest. An entire seam of buried weapons lifted, clattering, catching the sun. The root children backed away, hiding behind their crowns. Myra's pulse tripped. I didn't plant those. They were planted by war, the sword said softly. Left here like teeth in a mouth. The armor swiveled toward her, empty, but not dead. A gauntlet flexed. A spear snapped upright. The seam of metal shivered as if remembering breath. A helmet skull turned toward the village road. Myra's nails bit the leather grip. I woke them. You plowed them free, the sword answered. Now you must turn them under? How? Use me. The first empty helm clanged forward. The spear slid toward the road, dragging its own shadow. Fear rose like cold water in Myra's ribs, but under it was anger. She had not asked for war to walk through her life. She had asked for bread. For a spring that didn't take anyone, she stepped. The root children followed, ringed in yellow light. She pressed the blade into the ground again, cutting a new line that crossed the path of the moving iron. The furrow glowed. The metal shook, then sank an inch, then a foot, fighting the pull of soil. Myra pushed harder, teeth gritted, eyes raw with sudden tears. Good, said the sword. Name what you bury. Not sons, Myra whispered. She carved the line deeper. Not fathers? Not mothers. I'd bury fear. I'd bury hunger. I'd bury men who laugh when they cut. The seam of weapons wailed. One by one, they tipped and slid into the glowing line, swallowed by the earth like stones thrown in a river. Wind rushed at last, cool and clean, rippling the wheat like 1,000 hands applauding. Myra fell to her knees. The sword stayed warm. The root children came close and touched her hair, her shoulders. She wanted to rest. She wanted to sleep right there in the soft dirt and wake up to nothing but birds. But the field was not finished. It pressed a thought against her skin. Not a word. A direction. She looked toward the dark line of the old road, toward the low hill where a black tree clawed the sky. The sword pulsed. There is a boundary buried under that tree, it said. Break it, and the fields will breathe again. And if I break it? You will call the one who planted it. Who? The wheat, so considerate, bowed away from the hill, leaving a clear path. From beyond the tree, a drumbeat sounded, slow, heavy, coming closer. Myra stood. She lifted the blade. Through the heat in her palm, she felt the field's fear, its hope. Her own heart answered both. Then let him come, she said, voice steady. I'm tired of being quiet. Behind the tree, something vast exhaled. The drumbeat stopped. A voice like gravel rolled over water spoke her name. Myra? She swallowed, took one step forward, and set the blade against the root-choked boundary. It sighed again, glad and terrible. Turn me? Want the next cut of this tale? Follow now so you don't miss part 2.